Hey guys, what's up? Eddie Aho here with KISSanalog.com. Today I am going to return my Owon oscilloscope. And I'm going to have a video here and I'm going to show some details, but I'm not saying don't get one. A lot of great things about the Owon. Deep memory, it's a beautiful screen, a lot of good things. Ultimately is the FFT. Looks like a nice way. It looks like a nice waveform. The Siglent, I thought, wow, when I first saw it, I thought, okay, good. It also has 12 and 14-bit option on the vertical resolution. So with the deep memory, that vertical resolution, it's hard to find a scope that doesn't cost. Now this is around 1,100, under 1,200 bucks. It has a bunch of options. Has LAN, they both have LAN, has Wi-Fi. It also has function generator built in, DMV, and has all the decoding things. It's loaded. So for around 1,200 bucks or under 1,200 bucks, you can get pretty much fully loaded. Awesome. FFT, not so awesome. That's why I'm sending it back. And so if you want to watch, I've captured some videos showing the difference between some of the different options, the different displays, and it also kind of illustrates some Siglent capabilities. So if you're interested in that, continue watching and you'll see Siglent in action compared to the Owon. And both 200 meg scopes, both 1 giga samples per second, both deep memory, 14 meg. This goes to 40 meg. Like say, most scopes rate 8-bit vertical resolution. This guy, just to jump to the chase, this guy goes down to 5 millivolts per division with a times 10x probe. This guy goes to 10 millivolts. So that was disappointing. I thought it'd go to 5 millivolts, same as this guy, with those extra bits. So I looked at some low-level signals coming from the Siglent generator that's hiding back there. I had to make room for scopes to be side by side, but use the Siglent generator. It goes up to 10 megahertz. Use a sine wave, square wave. Put a very low, small signal in there, kind of showing the comparison of that. Put a little higher amplitude signal. You know, anybody can do big amplitude stuff, so sticking with the smaller amplitude stuff mostly for this comparison. And the Owon looks great in many ways, so I think they'll fix the FFT. It does give a beautiful display. It's just that the measurements to it, unless I'm doing something wrong, but you know, I've worked with FFT stuff, you know, for a while, spectrum analyzer and so on, so I think I know my way around them. And I did everything I could, set it up like the Siglent, tried all kinds of different things. But anyway, yeah, this video about that before I send it back. Owon people are great, gave me an RMA number, so no problems there. Bummer. I thought I'd be able to see some really cool high resolution stuff and some small audio input type signals, maybe some feedback signals and power supplies. I just thought, you know, 14 bits, hey, you got to spend a lot of money. I think you got to spend $8,000, $10,000 on an oscilloscope to get that with some of the brand name scopes, who are pretty much the only ones to do that kind of high-end stuff. But hey, Owon did it. Hopefully Siglent will add a 12-bit, maybe 14-bit functionality to one of their scopes. Okay, let's go to the videos. Thanks guys. Hey, give me a thumbs up if this was helpful to anybody, and hope it was. A little under the weather today, a little tummy ache, so thought I'd sit here and do this before I package it up. I planned on putting a box today, this morning, getting it shipped off before the weekend. But a little under the weather today, so I decided to do a video. Take this opportunity to capture what I can to help somebody. I had a hard time finding videos on Owon, and you know, I do think, you know, it's worth the look. Okay, All right, hey, thanks guys. We're gonna power both these scopes up and run them through some paces and see how they compare. Okay, so power up the Siglent and power up the Owon. Okay, so the Siglent, I know it comes up in about 15 seconds. Yeah, it's up, and it's up and running right now. There you go. The Owon's still working, and if a scope takes a minute to come up, that's not a big deal for me. Once it's up, I'm going to be using it for a while, but the Owon does take a little while to come up. I think it's about 45 seconds that I've timed it. So it's about 30 seconds longer than the Siglent, and it's coming up now, and it's ready to go. So the FFT is on right now. That's the red display in the lower part. So you can see the display of the Owon, very nice. It's large. It's kind of got a glossy finish. Let's turn off the FFT so they look the same. Okay, so let's compare some windows. Let's turn on channel 1 on the Siglent and channel 1 of the Owon. And there's the Siglent. If you look at the lower part of the screen, you can see the config. And you have AC, DC, and ground. You just toggle through them, and you can select them with the multifunction button. And the Owon has the same options. It has a little window that pops. Well, it's kind of a bigger window that comes up on the side. There's a feature on the Siglent that I really like. When you control the volts adjust, the vertical setting, you see the little window that pops up that shows the voltage, and it also shows you the little cursors where they are on the screen. So you'll see when you push the button, and then you can center it too by just pushing the buttons in. But I really like how the little window jumps up on the screen. On the Owon, you can move it the same way. It has the same controls. It just doesn't have the little window that pops up. You can also push the button in to center it. And with the touch screen, you can move it around with your finger. So it's not really easy to get it precisionally adjusted, but not too bad. Okay, so let's look at the other features. So the probe compensation comes in quite a few options, all the way from 5,000 to 0.1x. Pretty crazy. So the Owon has a little bit different range. It goes much lower, 0.001, and then up as high as 50x. Not quite as high, but really low, probably due to that 14-bit input. And both these scopes come with impedance matching from 50 ohms and 1 megohms. The 50 ohms on the Siglent at the price range is just astounding. Owon has it, of course. It's higher price range, so the Siglent's pretty impressive. Owon's impressive too. So just looking at the general placement for the channel information, Siglent has their channel 2 and channel 1 information. When you push the buttons, it shows the information across the bottom, and then the actual placement for the information is across the top, along the side here. And sorry, on the Owon, they stacked theirs up across the bottom. So where Siglent, looks a little different. They use both the side and the bottom. So now the cursor information, you notice the cursor window on the Owon is quite large. It's a big window. Oops, touching the screen again. And where the Siglent windows is smaller, text isn't too much smaller. It is smaller, but you can see all the information there. You know, it has the X and the Y. It'd be cool if they would have put it in the little corner, but anyway. So let's turn those off for now, and let's look at the cursor information. Before we do that, let's look at some of the other placement stuff. You notice on the Owon, they put the information for the trigger down here on the bottom as well, where on the Siglent, they put theirs above the channel information over here on the side. And then, so they also have a counter on the Siglent, which for some reason I couldn't find it on the Owon. But on the Owon, they put the horizontal information, time-based information down here as well. So it's all, everything's all kind of across the bottom here. Where on the Siglent, they put theirs up here. And so you can see the trigger, the ready flashing light, and so I kind of like the placement, but maybe it's just I'm used to it. Now let's take a look at the measurement features. If you look at the Owons, we'll pop that window up so you can see the measurements we can do. It's quite a big window, and Siglent has kind of an equivalent measurement window. Let's take a look at that one first. There's all the measurements. You just go around and you check them off. You can either do it with the multi-adjust button, or you can use the left and right cursor or buttons off to the right of the scope. But you can select any one of those things, and some are highlighted depending on what is available for that thing. Now with the Owon, it kind of it looks, it does a similar thing as a Siglent. When you hit the all measurements on, it appears like the all measurements on are all the time with the Owon. It'll just give you the measurements, and then you can go select which ones you want displayed down below. So it kind of has, the window does you know, does both features, both functions. And you can kind of see what, you know, the windows, how they look different. On the Siglent, when you go to measurements on, and it shows you this window where it just shows you all the measurements on. It's still a smaller window, so it doesn't take up the whole screen, where the Owon kind of takes up the whole screen. So I kind of like the Siglent, how it does that. Okay, now let's get back to the cursor windows. Let's look at the Owon. See the window that pops up in the left corner and the Siglent's window. Again, Owon's got a little bigger window. Now, in the Siglent, you see the XY. You can get your XY markers, or you can just choose Y, and that just shows you your two verticals. And then, or if you want your X, then you know, you get those. And then you choose your source, which source, math, and if you have reference turned on, you can get those. And then this window, you can either select which cursor you want to move with that one, or you can use this button over here, which I kind of like to do because I like to move them around, and I can just push the button in and down, and it shows you which mode you're pushing down here. And then you have a tracking and a manual mode, which is really nice as well. So when you push it, you see how I go into tracking, and then down there it shows I'm X2 minus X1. It shows me what I'm doing. So the you know, you can select it either way, and it just tells you which window you're in. I'm in Y2. The other neat thing is it actually tells me the level of the amplitude of the signal down in the lower window, as well as, you know, right there, as well as the box that pops up. Now with the Owon, it's similar, except for the darn multifunction button doesn't, you can't push it and jump to the other cursor. You have to go down and select it below, which I wish I would use these arrows or the multifunction button to manipulate the cursors. That other scopes that have those kind of buttons use those. I think the Owon will probably, that's something I think I'll write in. And now you can move them with your fingers, so that's the advantage of the touchscreen. Again, it takes a little practice to get them to move exactly where you want them, but I think it just takes a little practice. And you know, of course, you can use the buttons to manually do it. And you got the same tracking, you know, feature as the Siglent. So, very similar. I mean, similar capabilities, just a little different than the Siglent's operation. The X function, you see the X bars, same as with the Siglent, with the X mode, and then with the Y bars, same as when you have the Y turned on here, and the XY, same as, you know, Siglent's. And then there's the track mode, same thing, and also the auto track. So same features. It has a big window that comes up instead of, you know, how Siglent shows you, which I kind of prefer the Siglent thing. And the multi-purpose button on the one isn't really a multi-purpose button in this case. Anyway, the window is also big. It takes a big part of the window down here in the corner, which, you know, the display is slightly small or larger, but I prefer the Siglent smaller window. And I wish it had put it in the corner there, because then it'd be out of the window completely. But there you go. Now it's time to take some actual measurements. Let's do that. Okay, so I've decided to try some kind of corner cases. The Owon, the great thing about that, it has 14-bit vertical resolution, so it should have a lot more accuracy for small signals. So right now what I've done with my Siglent SDG810 generator, it's an arbitrary or function generator, it only goes up 10 megahertz, so I've gone to 10 megahertz, but I've got down to the smallest amplitude I can, 1.4 millivolts RMS, just to see how these scopes read them. And you can see the difference, they're really different. Now, sorry, my heater just went on. Let me turn that off. Okay, so the measurements are really different from each other. Now, interestingly enough, even though this has the really high 14-bit vertical resolution versus the 8 of a normal scope, this is the reason I really wanted this scope, I can only go 10 millivolts per division with a 10x probe. And in this scope, I can go down to 5 millivolts. Okay, so that's why the amplitude looks so much higher here. But now also, you can see all that. Now let me just freeze this, and it'll freeze on the current waveform that it captures. And that looks closer to what we're seeing here. This almost looks like an averaging, even though I have them both set up at the same type of acquire mode. Acquire mode, sample, and acquire is normal, which is sample. Okay, so even though I have them set up, you know, the same way, this to me looks like an averaging waveform, but it's kind of moving around. Now the measurement's turned on, and it's measuring. It's kind of all over the place. 3.5. Let's see, RMS is 2.6. It's mostly 1.5 to 2.6 RMS. Over here, RMS is about kind of similarly. It's 2.5 RMS. It's almost a similar measurement as I'm getting here. It doesn't move around as much on the Siglent. Even though Siglent looks like it's bouncing around more, the measurements more steady. It's around 2 point something, 2.3. Over here the signal looks more steady, but yet the measurement bounces all over, 1.6 to 2.2. So that could be what my generator is actually doing, putting out a really crummy signal at that amplitude and that frequency. So again, 10 megahertz, 1.4 millivolts RMS is what the output of the generator is. Okay, now here's another interesting thing. Let me do the, let's just pretend I was doing an auto setup just so I could quickly get a measurement. Now it always turns on both, oh, couldn't read that, went too fast, but it turns on both channels, looks for both channels, and then ends up setting up. Now what it does is set up for 1 millisecond, where before I had them both at 200 nanoseconds. So it's set up at 1 mil and 5 volts per division. So it's like, I don't see anything, buddy. Turn on your signal. So now let's do the Siglent. It came back and actually captured it. So now that's 10 megahertz at a 1.4. Let's just up it to 10 millivolts RMS. And let's give this guy maybe at 10 millivolts it'll see it. Whoops, sorry, that's run stop. Let's hit the auto setup. Now it captures it. And it's set up 50 nanoseconds. Okay, now let me do the auto setup here and see what we get. It just came back with the same signal. It says, hey, that looked good enough. It's 200, so I'll just make it look like this one. I'll make it 50. Now this is 10 millivolts per division, and this guy set him up for 5 millivolts. He just left it at 5. But if I drop down to 10, so it looks like this, you know, that's what they look like. Now if I freeze this guy, he looks pretty similar to this, except for he looks a little more crunchy, a little more detail maybe. This almost looks like, uh-oh. That's the thing about touch displays. I don't know if I'm a fan yet, because you got to be careful what you're touching, I guess. Yikes. Now, I don't know how I get back. Cancel auto set maybe. Nope. Okay, here I'm going to hit auto set again. So touchscreen, you got to be careful. I guess you got to get used to it. But anyhow, without touching the screen, you can see how smooth it looks. It looks like it's averaging. And over here, it looks kind of a little more detail in the waveform. And I think that's why it's kind of jumping around, because it's, I think it actually thinks it's seeing that. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go to 100 millivolts. Okay, hit auto set up, and see what happens. Okay, Siglent jumped in pretty quickly, right? Owon caught up to it. And now when it does, it gives you this option. You can either see multiple waveforms or just a couple. So that's kind of a neat thing with the Owon. It gives you those two things. Then you can cancel auto set. What if you went, oh shoot, I didn't mean to hit auto setup. I meant to hit acquire. You can cancel auto set. Okay, now with the Siglent, you can go multiple waveforms like that, or a few waveforms. So it has the same functionality there, but they also add the rising edge. Like, oh, there's rising edge right there crossing the trigger point. Or you can go, no, I want to go falling edge. So you can see, so you're zoomed into a wave, you know, one and a half cycle maybe. So maybe you want to see the other side of it, or you want to go back and forth. And then there's this noise one, which I'm not really sure what the noise one is, to tell you the truth. Not sure what that's doing. So come back over here. Let's see if it goes back. Now I don't know. I think I might have also changed auto setup when I hit this noise thing. So now what it has, like cancel auto set, this one has a back arrow. So now we're back there. So let's see if I go back. Yeah, I'll just go auto setup again. It's pretty darn fast, I think. Yeah, I don't know what this is. Right now I'm at 20 nanoseconds, and 50 millivolts. Let's see, let's watch how it changed it. Okay, it's still the same. Guess I don't understand how it's triggering. I'm wondering if there's some waveforms that are sometimes just not very good waveforms and it's catching those. Let's see how many. It says acquiring. Okay, so I'm kind of capturing more waveforms here so I can see what's going on. It's acquiring. It's showing me an acquiring here. It's busy. That's kind of cool that it does that, so you know that it's doing something. Still acquiring. So so I'm wondering if this noise, I'm gonna have to look into this. Oh, now if I hold it down, watch this. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, it actually comes up the help menu. Okay, so I'm still not too sure what this guy did, but it looks like it caught some crummy waveforms. If I come over here on the Owon, I don't really see that. Now if I come over and hit this guy, wow, not sure what's going on there. I have to look into that, so I'll just do the auto setup, get back to where I was going. So I don't know what this button does. Sorry about that. Just kind of trying to show, but you can see there are more options on the Siglent as far as auto setup goes. However, on the Owon, they have an auto scale button as well. Now auto scale, you can turn it on or off, and then you can set couple different modes for frequency or for frequency and voltage. So if I go on, it'll automatically adjust the scale. Let's see, I manually did it there. Let's see if it overrides me. Okay, let me turn it off and then back on. Okay, so see, it auto scales. Well, oh shoot, there I go touching the screen, darn it. Holy cow. Here, I think I use this, bring it back up here. Maybe I can just push it in. Can I do that? Okay, I guess if I just push it in, it seems like it centers it again. The trigger looks like it's off screen. I'm going to bring the trigger down. There we go. Now we're locking in. Wow. Okay, so just kind of showing some differences of how they operate. Now if I go real low frequency, let's go 10 millivolts RMS again. Something small. And now frequency wise, let's go to 10 hertz. Okay, 10 hertz. Now, you see what happened there. This is interesting. This is just showing the the trigger point's up on top here. I'll make it look like the. I guess it just doesn't center that like the Siglent does. When you push the button in, it centers it. I thought it did that on the Owon. Alright, so now let's hit the auto setup. Okay, let's try that again. It didn't seem like it. There we go. Okay, I have the auto scale on. Maybe that's messing things up. I'm going to turn that off so it's apples to apples. Okay, I'll hit auto set. Even though it captured the waveform, let's just do that again. There we go. It's still showing me the auto scale down here instead of... Oh, there we go. Now it's showing me the right thing. So it's the same as the Siglent. See, I can go to multiple waveforms, show me multiples, or I can go multiples over here. And hello. Come on, Siglent. Okay, single or multiple? Huh, that's what it thinks a multiple is. Okay, a little bit different. Guess it's real low frequency. It's so that's what I've noticed is that these really low levels or low frequencies or high frequencies, low levels, these there's some peculiarities that come up. So I can just do it this way too. But anyway, here, let me go. Whoops, here. Now that I've got a, I can see it's acquiring. Maybe I wasn't waiting long enough. There we go. Okay, now if I go to, okay, there's where it's showing just a single wave. Now go back to multiples. Okay, now it shows a couple. Wow, okay. Well, if I go with the Owon, so in this case, the Owon is kind of acting more normal. So there you go. Now that's, then we go to a smaller amplitude to show you what happens. I'll say one, let's see how small I can go. Okay, 1.4 millivolts again. So now you can see the Siglent, I saw something there and it went away. Okay, I'll just say auto setup, hit auto setup. So it looks like they both got lost in that case. Okay, so over here we're at 2 volts R per division, so I'm going to go down to 10 millivolts or 5 millivolts. Okay, and it's waiting for an arm. Let's see what happened there. Sometimes auto setup, if it doesn't work, you know, they'll throw you in some kind of mode that you don't want to be in. Okay, that all looks normal. This hold off time, I think I was messing with that earlier. So, oh, I think I just pushed a button. Now I think I'm on an Owon. I'm trying to touch the screen. Okay, minimum. And DC coupling noise reject. Alright, so everything looks normal there. Alright, so 1.4 volts RMS, 10 hertz. I'm going to hit the auto setup one more time, try that again. Okay, 5 volts here, and over here we got 5 millivolts. I don't see it triggering here. Why aren't we triggering? Okay. Just checking to see what mode the scope went into. You know, like say when you go into auto setup, sometimes it'll change everything, and when it doesn't work, maybe, oh, it's in average mode. That's okay. So it doesn't like average mode, that real slow. There we go. See, that's what I mean. Sometimes auto setup can throw you into a mode. Okay, now over here, let's get 10 millivolts. And where are we set up? We're at 10 milliseconds. I'll duplicate that over here. Whoops. Went the wrong way. Okay, 10 milliseconds. Oh, okay, it's 10 hertz. So what we need to do, I don't know what's going on. We're just not getting a good signal. 10 hertz, we should be real low frequency. There we go. Okay. That's the roll mode. I can turn it off by doing that. I just have to set the trigger. Now let's see. So we're at 100 milliseconds. I'm going to repeat that over here. 100 milliseconds. Now this is what I think is interesting. With 14 bits, I would think we'd have a lot better resolution. So I thought, well, okay, let's go to 8 bits. You can hear the relays clicking. Okay, that doesn't look any better. 12. Hello. Has to catch up to me. Okay, then 14. So yeah, okay. Then what I thought I'd do is come here. I've got the bandwidth limit on 20 meg, and I'm AC coupled. AC coupled 20 meg, 10x, 1 meg ohm impedance, so it all matches up. Yeah, this really surprised me. I would have thought it would have been the other way around. I would have thought I'd get a lot more detail with that 14 bits. So then I come up to acquire thinking maybe my record length's not long enough, and I'm at 40 meg. And on this one, I'm at 14K, so I don't have... Okay, so look, if I reduce my record length, say 10K, actually up here it tells me 14K. I can do that without hitting all the buttons. And actually over here it tells me too. Whoa, gosh, touching the screen again. Let's go back to record length. Record length. Okay, so now I can go around and play with things, but right now they're kind of matched up, but okay, it doesn't want to seem to trigger, and that's, see, I only have 10, hold on a sec, that's as much as I can zoom in, 10 millivolts per division. And over here I put this in, well, it's in 5 millivolts, it's the smallest. If I go 10, it still triggers better. So if I come over here to the trigger menu, slope, edge, channel, if I try to reproduce the same thing on both of them, rising edge, coupling, DC, noise rejects on here. That's an option on the Siglent. Now I can turn it on and off. I don't really see a difference, so I'm going to leave it on. Over here I'm going to come over, and I think I have to hit this to see other options. So I'm in auto, normal. So that's kind of showing me the acquire menu things. But I don't, okay, coupling. I can go to ACE. I can go to high frequency, low frequency, DC, AC. It's hard for me to get a good trigger. So go back to acquire mode, make sure I'm in sample. Now that's what peak looks like. If I go back to sample, at least, wow, that, so well, okay, oh shoot. Here, let's try to, okay, I pushed the button, it centers it again. Anyway, yeah, so really different waveforms. Try to turn off that menu there. See if I can trigger. Try to center. It's not showing me where the trigger level is. You know, it's interesting because I don't see a place where it shows me the level. Is that because I'm in, maybe it's because of the mode I'm in. I'm in auto. Let me go to normal. Okay, now it stopped, so it looks like, but it's actually not triggering. See, it says ready. Oh, there, it triggered. So you can see ready, trigger, ready, trigger. Yeah, I touched the screen, I moved that trigger level. I'm gonna center it. Let's see if that, does that center it? Shoot. That one centers it, the position, of course. Okay, so anyway, by going to normal mode, at least I can make it stop just scrolling. Now over here, I'm still in auto. See, I can go to normal mode here, and then I can do the same thing with the trigger. So just kind of showing you a one-to-one comparison. So I can go back to auto on this one. That just automatically trigger for me. Alright, now if I freeze this, I was just wondering if it cleared up the waveform. Sometimes it, you know, when you freeze it, if there's multiple waveforms, it shows you the last waveform. See, if I froze that, it actually still, oh, there it goes. It cleaned it up and showed one waveform. But yeah, so anyway, with the extra, you know, 14 bits of resolution, the fact that I can only go to 10 millivolts on that kind of keeps me from getting a zoom in on this, so I can't, you know, can't really get that great of a reading. Over here, my RMS reading 1.9. Over here I'm at 2.6. The 1.9 is a lot, you know, the Siglent's actually giving me, I accidentally just hit the generator, guys. There we go. I turned off the generator output. It took the Owon a moment because of the normal trigger mode. Anyway, yeah, it's a little bit interesting. I'm going to go to square wave just so you can see what a square wave looks like at this low amplitude, low frequency. You can see how fast the Siglent kind of captured that. Okay, that's a 2 millivolts RMS. Square wave, it just automatically bumped that up for me. I'm going to go to 5 millivolts RMS, okay? Just see what happens when we bump it up that much. Okay, I've done it. You can see the Siglent's changing. The Owon's not... Okay, it's changed, but it's the trigger that's just not as clean as the... See if I go back to high frequency, go one of these filters maybe. Jeez, just takes a while to catch up. Doesn't seem like much has changed. I'm not sure what's going on there. Oh, there we go. I can toggle through it this way. Some of the menus let you toggle. I don't know if they all do. It seemed like, okay, there's high frequency filtering seems to work better on the coupling, maybe. And let's look at fewer waveforms to zoom in. Maybe I'll do the same thing on this guy. Coupling, go to high frequency. Yeah, looks like high frequency coupling's a little better. Okay, now zoom out on this one too so you can kind of see the same thing. Now, you know what? Maybe, oh shoot. So maybe the 14 bits is giving a little better resolution on this now. Now, I want to show you something that the Owon has that the Siglent does not have. It has a little magnifying glass up here. Come up and touch that. See, it gives this red box in this window. Put that red box over that waveform right there, and it shows, that window shows what's inside that box. And that was supposed to be kind of the zoom in feature on this 14-bit deal. So, you know, I mean, there you go. I don't know if the 14 bits was, I mean, that does look a little cleaner, but yeah, I wish it did the 5 millivolts per division like the Siglent. Let's go to 1 megahertz frequency. See what happens with the square wave doing that. Okay, I'm going to attempt to hit auto and auto. Neither one of them did a very good job there. So again, this guy doesn't even though it has 14 bits, it doesn't even think it sees a signal. It's a 5 volts per division waiting for something. So I'll zoom in. There we go. Now I'll do the same thing on the well, let's see, the Siglent's a 5 millivolts, so it knows that it's a small signal. It just can't detect the frequency, so okay. Maybe it was. Alright, there we go. Now the coupling, go back to, there's a high frequency filtering, maybe that works better. Okay, that's the Siglent. Let's see if I can duplicate it over here. 200 nanoseconds. And right down here it's saying 10 milliseconds, so there we go. So the Owon looks like a cleaner signal. Now, okay, it's going to do the same thing with high frequency filtering on the Owon. And that's as much as I can zoom in. That's that limitation. If it went to 5 millivolts and I could expand the vertical scale, maybe I could lock in better, but okay, so try low frequency. Okay, now it's just kind of doing what looked like the Siglent before. AC, DC, high frequency. It's really interesting on the high frequency how much cleaner the waveform looks, and it could be just because it's not capturing as many refresh rates, so we're not seeing as many. Over here we're getting a bunch of refresh rates on top of each other, and everyone's off a little bit, because when we go to these other modes, it looks more like the Siglent where the refresh rates go a lot faster. Okay, so if I go there and do run stop, wait a moment, see if it cleans up. Here, I'll do the run stop right here. We'll see how clean that one got when I stopped. Okay, sometimes I've found it works. You notice how that worked? That's what a Tektronix scope does. I've noticed that the $17,000 scope, it'll do what the Owon did. Here, let me show you again. I stop it, and it shows all these waveforms on top of each other because it refreshed a whole bunch of times. Now if I take a scale and just move it here and then back, it just shows the last refresh rate, which is what the Siglent is showing. So when you look at these two waveforms, they look pretty similar. This one still looks a little cleaner. I'm not sure which one I believe, but you know, I think the Siglent with the 5 millivolts per division, I think that still wins in my. I mean, this looks cleaner, but I wonder if it's real. Anyway, so so far I haven't seen the advantage of the 14 bits. Maybe I have and I just don't recognize it, because I just don't know if I can believe it or not. I guess if I had another scope to compare, and we actually knew what this generator is putting out. Okay, it's 5 millivolts. I'm going to jump it up to 10 millivolts amplitude and see if that improves our measurements. Okay, so I'll hit the auto set, and whoops, that was run stop, auto set. Siglent is pretty fast, so okay, so same kind of thing. It's kind of jump around. It's that really fast. You know, if you did have a transient, and if you start seeing these things, you can turn on persistence to see if that's real and try to capture those. You can do that with both scopes, but now I'm wondering how this guy chose. It did DC coupling, and so did this. Now if I just freeze it, and I'll freeze this guy, but now I have to do this stupid trick. So that always annoys me at work that I have to do that. It should just show the last capture like the Siglent does. But there you go. Less detail, which it looks cleaner. We like cleaner, but I don't know if it's better. I mean, more detail. It almost feels like that's the 14-bit machine over there. Yeah, there's some interesting things. I'm not sure the 14 bits. This screen, you can tell it's beautiful. I hope you can tell that. It is a beautiful screen. I really, with the Owon, I even like my Siglent even better now, I think. I know I've always liked it. I'm learning more about it. But I do like the Owon. I like it. It is Wi-Fi. Go to utilities. Let's go to utilities on both of them. So here we have a function display button, and you can come here and you can choose display, and in this case display is chosen. Backlight 100%, Graticulo, battery on off. Again, there's a battery in here. That's really awesome, cool thing. Scope's kind of warm actually on top. Kind of seems like it runs warmer than the Siglent, but anyway, probably maybe that big display in the battery. And then you can set the time that the window shuts off. And right now it's 20 seconds. I'll tell you what, I've been doing some FFT stuff, and 20 seconds isn't long enough, so I'm going to come down here to 30 seconds. Oh, you know what? I still have to show you the FFT, right? Okay, there's that function. Then you can, let me just toggle through it. Shoot. Sorry, missed a button. Okay, there's display, adjust, self-calibration, default, and a probe channel. I'm not sure what some of those are. There's the pass-fail setup. Output, you got a video output in the back, so you can set that up. What kind of video you want, AG, pass-fail, trigger out. So there's some kind of cool things. There's a LAN setup, the update button, lab report. So this one can put out lab reports if you're in a school environment or something. And this DAQ, do not know what that is actually, guys. If you do, let me know. Configure, English, set time, key lock, and about. Tell you what. You know what? Let me go back to configure in case you guys want to see what the about button says. It says serial number, version 2.9 software, and as far as I can tell, that's the latest. So let's see. We got the display. So there's the adjust, self-cal. Yeah. So I think we've gone through them all. Okay. Over here, if I hit the, let's see, is it still showing me? I'm not sure. Yeah, so I'm on page 3 or 2 of 3. So here, I'll just start up. There's 3 of 3. Here's 1 of 3. So system status. If I push that, tells me there's my status. If you want to see what that looks like, tells what version, serial number, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's of interest to anybody. Hit the single button. It tells me to get back to there. Here's a self-cal. Here's a sound where I can turn on and off sound, I guess. If I turn that, yeah, I can hear a beep. Maybe I'll turn it on for a moment. English. Okay, page 2, I have the pass-fail just like I did over here. If I click on that, it comes up with a bunch of other menu stuff. Okay, so how do I get back? Okay, here's enable. Here's the source of it, you know, how to set it up. So masking. There's page 2 of that. And then see if I go back. Okay, so now we're back. That's pass-fail. Here's the I/O. Okay, now here's USB. I can set up that guy. Not sure what I do to set up that. I guess I just select it. You can select. Oh shoot, there's the USB thing. I'm not going to mess with that. Here's the LAN. Oh, that's the LAN part, I guess. Let me hit that USB thing again. Wait a moment. Maybe yeah, I don't know what that does. Okay, and here's the auxiliary output, trigger out, and there's the pass-fail output. So if you want to just send a trigger out, or you want the auxiliary output to put out the pass-fail, that's how you select between those. And page 3, here's the update window, firmware configuration, and self-test, screen saver. It's off, so you know, like this one where you can set it up. You get 1 minute down to an hour screensaver. I've got it off. Options. Here's the generator. If I did have the generator installed, I don't. And then here's how you can install your options. Here's an information button. My decode is permanently on, so it comes with the Siglent. They turn on. So if you're interested in I2C CAN bus and the other buses it comes with, it has the decode built into it. So that's what all that stuff is. So that's the utility button. The history has to do with, you know, a bunch of other, there's some other features there. That's the segmented memory. I just didn't want to really get into every feature of the scope. Just kind of showing you some main differences. Now, when you're looking at a waveform like this here, let me turn off this cursor menu so you can see the whole display. you can just push the button in. It's the zoom button, and then when you change the dark area here is what you see down here. That's a zoomed in part, and then you can move this back and forth like that. My doggy over there wants me to come hang out with him. Okay, that's what you hear him over there. He's whining. He wants me to go sit with him. Okay, so that's that, and then over here the way it works is you hit this HOR, horizontal thing, and they give you 2 bars. Oh shoot, see, you gotta stop touching things, man. So I can get the darn display back in there. There we go. Alright, so between these 2 bars here, I'm going to try not to touch. You can do this kind of thing, and instead of showing you that, it just shows you this way. Just another way of doing it. And of course, a touch screen, you can do it this way too. Okay, very nice display again. You know, you can kind of see some of the differences between the scopes. I don't really see the benefit of 14-bit yet. Maybe I just need to have some more complicated signals to look at, and then maybe I'd see the thing. I just wish this would go 5 millivolts, because I think that way you could zoom in and you could get more, you know, more detail with that 14 bits or 12 bits. I think that's, God, I just don't think that's so hot that you can do that. Now, one thing I'm curious about, if you're zoomed in, does this magnifying glass work? Doesn't seem to. Okay, just wondering. I thought that might be an extra bonus, like you could zoom in plus put magnifying glass on it, but oh, it's disabled in zoom mode. Okay. Now, it did come up with that little help window. Now, I showed you in the Siglent, so over here, like let's say when you're going to all your different triggers, it gives you a help menu along the way. On the and another way the scope will give you help is, like, let's just say I don't know what this button is. If you just hold it down, it comes up and tells you. On the Owon, there's actually a help key. Let me just hold a button down and see what happens. Yeah, it doesn't come up with like help and tell you what's going on. I'll hold this one down. Yeah, so it doesn't do what the Siglent does. It does have the help key. And then I've gone through this menu a little bit, and you know, you can come wait, let's see. Yeah, I think that's what I found that was peculiar. The touchscreen doesn't work on the menu, but the button does. The push, that's one place it does work, is in the menu. So it comes up and tells you, you know, here, and you can go through the pages, or you can go through the pages this way too. So I'll tell you what, I prefer the menu, the help system here, that when you want to know what the help is on this button, just hold it down and it tells you, instead of having to go through some menus. I just like, you know, when I'm setting up the trigger, even if I don't want to go ask for help, I just like the fact that it shows me how it works. You know, let me just scroll through a couple of the other ones. See, it just gives an explanation of what each one of these actually does. I might think I know how it works, but it's nice to refer to that instead of going to a help menu and, you know, diving through the menu. Beautiful screen, deep memory, that 40 meg, really cool. You know, I could probably zoom real close in on this edge, and if I was at high frequency, I could still capture a lot of data. And so that deep memory, 40 meg versus the 17 meg on this. 17 meg is still really good, much better than other scopes in the same price range. So, but yeah, this guy, not same price range, like double the price of this scope, but you know, you do have the deep memory, the nice display, even if the 14 bits doesn't turn out to be something that's, you know, that awesome. I think I gotta believe it does. I just don't think I've had time to play with it. Now for the reason I'm returning it. When you push the math, you get the FFT. And it actually looks really nice. You go, wow, that looks like a really cool FFT waveform. So I come over here and I go push math. Now, you notice how it's showing me the waveform here, and see if I go back to this zoom, I go to zoom. And then if I go to math, I go to the waveform and the math. On the Siglent, you notice when I hit the FFT, it just still shows me the zoomed in waveform as well as the FFT. And then I can go to page, let's see what page it is. Oh, I just saw it. On page 2, display split. So I can say exclusive. Oh, function cannot be used. I think it's because, here, yeah, it won't let me move. I'm stuck in this window here because of the zoom. So I have to actually turn off the zoom so that I can play around with this. So now I'm in the split window. But okay, just where we are right now, look at the FFT here. It shows a full spectrum, even though I'm looking at these cycles. Now, over here I'm at 500 nanoseconds per, and here I'm at 200, so I'll make them the same. Okay, so now you can see the spectrum which I'm seeing here versus here. I mean, this looks great, okay? But let me show you some other. You get a little. Okay, now there's auto setup here. Okay, now a little bit better. I really like the auto setup. They don't have one here. Over here I see the dB scale on the right, and I can, you know, over here there's no scale. I mean, there's no obviously you can see the scale, but it doesn't give me, it doesn't tell me what the scale, it doesn't identify the scale. So over here it identifies the scale, over here it does not. It does say 20 dB per division, and it tells me that I think what it's telling me is this M, this placement for the my reference signal is at four divisions above, you know, center. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I believe that's what that's telling me. And I'm at 25 megahertz and 5 megahertz per division. Okay, so 25 megahertz in the center, I suppose, and then 5 megahertz per. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 25 megahertz. Yeah. So I believe that's what it's telling me. Over here, I can go. It says center's 1 megahertz, and I got 5 megahertz per division. So 5 megahertz, 5 megahertz. That's the same, but over here I'm centered at 1 megahertz, and over here I think I'm centered at 25. So that first peak is 1 meg, and then it goes on. And I'm actually, the generator, you know, the frequency counter tells me 1 megahertz. Now over on the Owon, by the way, it doesn't seem like it has the frequency counter. I haven't been able to find. I'm kind of surprised by that, because I think all scopes now get a frequency counter built in. So I just wonder if I don't have it turned on, but I have not been able to find it. But over here it says I'm 1 megahertz. Center of the screen's 1 megahertz, 5 megahertz per division. So okay, same megahertz per division, but that same amplitude signal is this guy right here. This guy looks more like a spectrum. Right now, this isn't looking like a lot of detail, so it looks like this is better. But hold on. See, 20 dB per decade, same as this. And it also tells me on the screen, I can see this information on the screen. I'm just reading the stuff here. Okay, here's my point. So I'm at maximum point. So it's like, wow, that's maximum points. That doesn't look that detailed. I mean, it gives me some information. It shows I have a 1 megahertz signal, and then it looks like some, but it doesn't. This is what I'd expect to see. Okay, now the way you have to get this one to look more like this is you have to get more pulses on the screen, so it has more information. And you can see how the pulse it starts to define the FFT. So you can kind of go back and forth like that, and you go, well, I don't know if... Now, one thing that I'll tell you is that right here, this is what they call the noise floor, this line right here. I'm afraid to touch the screen, but right here is the noise floor, and it's nice to get enough resolution that the noise floor lowers. So when I get some more pulses, you see how it drops? That's kind of what I'm looking for. So I didn't really see it drop, I saw the bandwidth change. So I'm going to go back to this setting for a sec. Okay, now over here it looks really good. It looks, you know, like a real, it still looks like a better spectrum over here. So I mean, I would look at that and go, wow, that's kind of what I expect to see. But the problem lies in trying to actually take measurements here. Now right now those are just little hairline cracks, so you want to zoom in on that stuff so you can see things like this. Now I can come over here and go, for one thing, the auto setup button right here, auto set, is really cool. So it's already auto set for me, even though I've changed it. It kind of, you know, fell in line. 1 megahertz center still, but now I've got 1.25 megahertz per division. So I can touch that. Let's see if I can refine that a little bit. I go 100. That's about as good as I can get. So if I want more refinement, I have to get more pulses on the screen. Now I can go to 500 kilohertz per division. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's you know, that's 2 megahertz past this guy. So that's 1. There's 2. That's 3 megahertz. Now I can put the cursors on. I can do all the measurements and all that stuff too. But what's neat is I can use the math or the measurement here, and I can say source, and I can choose. I can use source, and I can go down here to math. Whoops, and then type, and they're all darkened in. The only one I can actually measure is the maximum, which I've chosen, and it's right here. This mean came from a setting, a measurement I took previously. So okay, we just hit that, menu goes away. Alright, so so it says 41.06 dBs. Alright, so that was minus 41.07 dB volts. And if I put that in my calculator, I come out to 8.85 millivolts. And the generator is set to put out 10 millivolts RMS. So it's pretty close to 10, 8.85. That is RMS, so it's pretty close. Now what I can do, I can zoom in. I can, you know, play around, and I can also get the cursors on there. When I do the cursors, there's a manual mode, there's source. I can come down here and say math. So when I do that, it comes down to the math window, and then I can do manual or tracking mode. So if I go, okay, let's do tracking mode, and it takes a moment because it's doing math. It's doing a lot of FFT, fast Fourier. It's doing a lot of fast Fourier math. So, you know, as I move this, I have to wait until it updates. So you gotta be a little bit patient. So okay, so now I'm top of the thing, and it's saying minus 41.6, I think that says, which is pretty close to what this guy's measuring. So when I so it looks good. Now this guy, first of all, I can't when I hit math or measure, it only lets me select channel 1 or 2. I can't do math on the FFT, so that's too bad. I can, however, go to cursor, and on cursor, this is something I learned, there's window or extension. So if I'm in main window or extension, then that's down here. And then here's my line A and B, and the source is math and line type, and then I can go to voltage or frequency, voltage and frequency, and auto cursor. So same kind of thing I can do over there, supposedly. But then when I try to, okay, here, now I wish I could just push the button and toggle to A, but I can't. I can't just touch A either and move it. It highlights when I touch it, but I can't move it. So I have to come over here. I wish I could toggle through those things. Like pretty much any scope I use, you can use the multi-purpose button to, and it'd be really cool if they hooked these up at the multi-purpose button. Now, see that guy right there? He's in my way, and I wish I could get him out of the way, but when I have the cursors up, it puts it there. Over here, and I can set this gray scale behind the thing. I can actually go in here and say on the display, where is it? Transparency. I can go to transparency, and I can make it like so it's not transparent at all. Like the window over here, that's not transparent. Or I can turn on transparency, so I can actually see through it. It makes it harder to read the measurement, maybe. So if you do that, it's easier to read the table. So it's a trade-off. What do you want? So if I go like this, I can see this. Anyway. So yeah, it's kind of a trade-off. Play back and forth. But right here it puts it. This box is so big. It'd be really cool if it just stood up in here. Like in both cases, it'd be cool if it just put it up in here. Especially when you select math is, the FFT is what you're trying to do your cursor measurement on. It'd be nice if it take that and toss it up here. Especially over here with it being so large. So I need to move the waveform over here so I can even see it. So we got to go back to math. FFT, and this is one thing I found, it feels like I'm going through a bunch of menus. So now what I need is I come down to here, and I'm at 25 meg as a center, so I need to move that over here so I can move the center over here in the screen where I can see it, and then I can come down here and 5 meg per division. Maybe I can do like on the Owon, or on the Siglent, stretch out. But when I do, the waveform takes off. So I gotta go back to here and really get that in the center of my screen. Now I can try to improve the resolution. There's 500 kilohertz per division, and over here, where were we? We were at 500 kilohertz. So now we're set up the same as the Siglent. But, that looks like such a great waveform. It's just that when I take the cursor now, come back over. Okay, so when I take the cursor and I put this over here, okay, so I get the cursor and I find the top of the waveform. So then I come over here and I go, okay, that's my A, That's, you know, X1, I guess. That's 1 megahertz. And it says minus 9.4 dB. Minus 9.4 is not even close. Not even the ballpark. It's minus 41.6. It's down there. Now, then I go, well, hold on a sec. Look at this. If I call that my 0 dB, and if I come down here and it's 20, but then it says 20 dB, so it's 20, 40, 60, 70. So that's not right either. So nothing makes sense. I mean, the picture looks like a nice picture, but the math and all the metrics that go along with it, the only thing that's correct is the frequency. The dB scale, none of that's correct. I've tried different frequencies. I've tried different things. I've tried to set it up on so on with auto setup and so on, and then try to zoom in. I've tried changing the record size, the 14 bits to 8 bits. I've tried a bunch of different things. I try to match up with the Siglent scope, the record length and all that stuff to match up with Siglent, see if I can get this measurement. And you know, it's a nice picture of the FFT. I just wish that it would actually give correct decibel information. So yeah, it's a good looking picture. It looks like a lot of information. It looks like it's taking more bits. It says the depth is 10K, 14 bit, and then 100 megasamples per second. I'm like, well, okay, I'll try match that up. This is 100 megasamples per second right now, and 14K points, 14,000 K points. So it's pretty darn close. So it seems like my resolution and all that kind of stuff is very similar. Makes no sense. Now, this cursor down here, you can see it's like 1, 2, maybe 3 grid, 2 to 3 grids. It's kind of bouncing around, and it's 20 dB per grid. So it should be about, if this is minus 9, this should be minus 60 or something, but it's minus 9, it's minus 17. So, you know, makes no sense. So if I go to line B, what I did is I moved line B to some place where I could try to measure the grid difference. Like go say maybe like what's a full grid? Like right about there's 1 grid, and it's like 4 dB difference. It makes no sense to me on the, I mean, I thought maybe it's a scale factor off or something, but it doesn't seem to make any sense. So exasperating. It's frustrating. It's a beautiful scope, had a lot of promise once they fix this FFT, and I wish, you know, and I'll send in a suggestion that they use this multi-purpose button for cursors, because I think that uses multi-purpose for more things other than just cursors. You know, write that into more functions so that when you're working with this, that you can toggle between things and use it more. I think the cursor menu and the FFT is unusable. Pretty picture, but that's it. I mean, it's a beautiful scope. Up here, it's really interesting to me how it captures waveforms. Now, I haven't changed the horizontal, right? I've only played with this. This doesn't seem like it's been affected by this, but now if I change this, it will affect it. Well, actually, okay, now it finally did. Eventually it does, but now I can move this over, readjust it. You can see it just went back to what it looked like before. Anyway, I tried to duplicate things, both amplitude here. I thought, well, maybe I need to use more of the window. But right there, now this is actually a small signal, so, but I've also done it on large signals. I've done 1 volt and 10 volts. I've done other scales over here. So it's not just this low volt. So by the way, that does bring up something. this is 10 millivolt output on the generator at 1 megahertz. And this scope, the FFT on here is giving a pretty darn accurate measurement for such a low signal level, and it is showing how much noise there is on that, so it makes sense with the signal it sees. So, you know, this FFT is a really cool function. You can see how trashy this is by watching the FFT. We change this 500 hertz to bring more of the signal in, and you can see all that trash right there. Now when you look at that waveform compared to this, here, let me turn off the cursors. Now look at them. Now the Siglent looks very similar to this. So the Siglent is actually a very impressive scope. For a scope that has so much promise, just not quite delivering, I think this would be a beautiful scope for a lot of people. The FFT is something I want to show how to use more and more, as I'm going to learn how to use it more and more. I'm used to using a spectrum analyzer and so on, but I don't use FFT as commonplace as I think we should, because it's such a great way to take measurements. I mean, look at this compared to that. There's so much more information here. Alright, well, hey guys, long video. Just wanted anybody interested in Owon scope, don't want to scare you away. I think we ought to just keep tabs. Now, the probes that they provide with them, I actually think they're really nice probes. Another thing I want to point out, I think in an earlier video when I unboxed this thing, there's a metal collar in here, and on the probe, there's the metal collar. So you have, like, looks to me like 3 contacts, like the Tektronix probes. You have the center conductor, the collar around the coax, and then this collar around this outer thing. And I can see a collar in there. So I thought, hey, this might be cool. It'll detect the probe when you're plugged in, but it does not. I don't see I can change the probe from 1x, 10x, and I don't see anything happening. Keegan. There's my dog. He wants me. Beautiful scope, beautiful display, a lot of cool functionality, does a lot of things nice. The auto scale button is actually pretty handy, I think. I mean, I like that auto scale where the auto set, they both have the auto setup, but it is neat when you can hit the auto scale and you can turn it on so that as you're changing waveforms, it'll auto scale the scope. So you can always have I mean, it just saves you from reaching over and, you know, doing this. But yeah, I mean, I mostly have turned it off, but I do like the way, you know, I do like Siglent's menu here. I think the screen still has plenty of space, a lot of information. I like the way they use the bars across here. Over here they start getting stacked up on top of each other like this when you get this bar up inside the thing. So I think I'd almost rather just have this on the side. At first I thought, well, that looked kind of cool, but you know, pretty soon it's kind of like Microsoft Windows. You got these widescreen computers these days, but now they have these huge bars on top. You end up with this little small, you know, this little small section where you're typing in. So you have that, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, tangent. But yeah, great screen. FFT has the dBs here on the side. It has this little window here giving you information, and it has the frequencies across the top. You know, it's just a nice FFT window. This looks really great. There's just no information. If it showed the actual scale, a meaningful scale, the only information it gives you is 20 dB, which means nothing. It's not accurate. Too bad. Well, that's a fail. The FFT, so close to being nice with the Owon, but no. So I've got to say, the Owon people are great. They gave me an RMA number. I just thought I'd do this video to see if I could help people that are interested in Owon. Hopefully not scare them away, but it does have the DMM option right there. Push that. Haven't even shown you that. Comes up with this little window. You got the multimeter connections in the back, so you know, there you go. I mean, you got a multimeter. I don't have that option in this scope. You can buy it here too. Bought it on this one. Bought the I bought the Wi-Fi option as well, so you can use it can hook up to your phone. It hooks up very easily. It's got the generator option, and seems like I had another option. It came with all the CAN bus and all that. I had to buy that with this one. It came with this on this scope, but I had to buy those options on this guy. So, but I got fully loaded, but a little bit disappointing on how it worked. Maybe what I should do is, before I call it quits, at least save a screen here so I can see how easy that is. Okay, push it in here, go up to save. Where's save? Save. Okay, source FFT, object show. Okay, so I'm just gonna hit save, see if it, well, it says internal, okay, external. Oh, it's not that, oh, there it goes. A little bit of delay. Okay, external. And now say save. Oh, so I'll just hit return. I guess it gives you a chance to, I'm just assuming it saved that waveform here. Okay, well anyway, take that out, package this guy back up, put it in the box and send it off. I hope this video helped. Just wanted to show you how cool the Owon is, all the great things it does right. Oh, here we go. It just came up at the let's see, wave, configure, image, record. We come in, configure, settings. Wow. Type. Jeez. Okay, so yeah. Alright, well anyway, there's your save menu. Again, beautiful screen. Looking at the two, I mean, this is more of a matte finish. This looks like it has more reflections. I can see my hand in it. I don't, you know, so maybe there's some drawbacks about having the reflect or such a glossy screen, but it does look pretty. So I see great detail in both scopes. I can't really say, you know, one's better. I mean, I can see it. Siglent on a update, they made these fonts a little bit bigger. This guy here, I like to be able to move that over here. It's too bad that doesn't just show up in this bar. That'd be awesome if it did. But there you go, guys. Hope that helped. Long video, but I'm hoping I'm helping someone make a choice here. And you know, this, as far as just build quality, this looks it looks a little simpler on the menu here. Siglent looks like they did a little more design work, maybe, I don't know, but the quality, the construction feel of the scope feels very solid, and you know, they have the kind of rubberized, texturized buttons, I mean knobs, but I do like this large multi-purpose button. I like how smooth it is. The Siglent's a little bit, you know, sensitive, but you can use these two to back up that. I feel like this one is kind of a newer scope. I think they need to do a little more work and refine it a little bit, and boy, I guess it made me like my Siglent even better. Alright guys, hope that's a thumbs up, and we'll send it off and get back to doing some technical videos on some circuitry here. I've got some inrush current, I've got some other management, okay. Signing off, guys.